So today I'm going to cover summarize the material in chapter 1, which focuses on how to make ethical decisions. I told you last week that business did not have ethics when I studied business like 50 years ago. Okay, I studied a long time ago, right? So we added ethics into business about when I started teaching it about 28 years ago. So about 30 years ago, business schools started adding ethics into the curriculum. And so what business had to do was they had to borrow philosophies from the area of philosophy, sometimes religion, where they talk about right and wrong, and apply it to business. So in the area of philosophy, we've got three areas, all right, in terms of making ethical decisions. So I find this helpful. It's because it gives me a framework. Because when you want to make a decision of right and wrong, it helps to understand how to think about a problem. Okay, how to think about a problem. Okay, so there's three philosophies from from philosophy, from the area of philosophy. If you study philosophy, you'll learn these different philosophies. I think some of you may take a philosophy course. Anyone ever took a philosophy course here? Yeah. Well, do you remember a guy by the name of Kant? Kant? No. Oh, 50. Okay, all right, all right. So one famous philosopher is a guy by the name of Immanuel Kant. So he's a very famous philosopher, and he created a philosophy called deontology. All right, so that's from Immanuel Kant. Another philosopher you probably heard about him, Aristotle, right? Some of you heard about Aristotle. You know, ancient philosopher Aristotle. Okay, Aristotle. He's the one who kind of started the idea of character ethics. Okay, that's from Aristotle. Okay, and then another philosopher by the name of Stuart Mill. He created the philosophy of what we call consequentialism, which looks at the end result. Okay, so these are like three philosophies which look at a ethical problem from a different point of view, and it applies different ways of thinking. And what we want to do is we want to combine all three philosophies and make a decision. All right. So let's look at. We're going to start with this one here, which is something everyone thinks about when they think about ethics. They always think about rules and standards. Okay, that's what deontology looks at. The other philosophies look at something different, like character ethics looks at the person's character. Consequentialism looks at the consequence or the end result. Well, let's start with this one here, deontology. All right. So deontology looks at standards or rules. All right. Last week I talked about professional ethics, right? And we found that every profession, like whether you're a doctor, accountant, engineer, dentist, lawyer, if you join the professional association, they have a code of ethics, right? You need to follow the code of ethics. If you join an organization like you're a student at Seneca College, does Seneca have a code of ethics or some type of ethics code? Do they? Yeah. Yeah, have you ever looked at it? Probably not. It's on the website. I believe it's called the Students' Rights and Responsibilities. Okay, so when we talk about these rules, that's basically what you're talking about here. In deontology, it looks at rules, standards of right and wrong. So every profession, every organization, companies have standards and codes, right? But beyond that, I want you to think about what I consider or call universal standards, broad standards. Okay, broad standards include laws. If you live in Canada, you have to follow the laws or standards of Canadian law. But even broader than that, there are standards all human beings follow. Can you think of a basic standard like all human beings all around the world follow, all throughout history? In general, people follow a standard. Okay? I mean, all human beings, as human beings, every society follows certain standards. You believe that? You know, I mean, it's called conscience, right? We all have a conscience, and we all have a sense of what's right and wrong. What's a basic sense of right and wrong for all human beings? What would you think? What's that? Don't murder. Yeah, okay. Don't kill somebody, right? Or or murder someone. Uh, that's in every society. That's there, right? Because if murdering was commonplace, uh, the society couldn't function, right? A lot of people would die, right? So we have to punish murder, right? Uh, in general, do you think for most societies, being honest is important? We all know that people lie every so often. We all lie every so often, right? It's just kind of like, remember the example last week. If your friend or your wife or your ask you, does this dress make me look fat? You say, oh yeah, sure does, right? So we may not want to tell the whole truth, right? So we kind of lie a little bit, because we want to adjust our speech to the person's feelings, right? But in general, we want to be honest. We want to tell the truth. Do you believe that that's a basic human idea, to tell the truth? Yeah. Why is it so important to tell the truth for most societies, for interactions in humans? Why is it so important to tell the truth? Yeah, build trust. Yeah. I mean, think about this. If you have a society where everybody's lying, can you function? No, I don't think so. I could say, well, class starts at 9 a.m. Oh, I'm just kidding. It was a lie. I mean, we wouldn't, or I'll meet you at 2 o'clock for lunch. Well, if I don't, if you can't, if I'm lying, you can't trust me. In other words, if you lie all the time, I can't trust you. So in order for society to function in business and in human interactions, we basically need to tell the truth, right? Yeah. Okay, so basically these are what we call universal standards. Okay, so lying is a universal not lying or not physically harming people. These are basic universal standards. Okay, now let me take a poll here in class. Think about some other rules and standards. Okay, so look at this list here. What rules and standards do you consider universal? So universal means all around the world in every society and pretty much throughout history, through most of history. Uh, what would you say is a universal human standard? A, wear clothes, don't go around naked. I'll have you raise your hand in a minute. B, do not kill. C, do not murder. D, all of the above. Or E, B, and C, don't kill and don't murder. Okay, so I'll take a poll. We'll go one at a time, all right? So raise your hand. Okay, A, wear clothes. Okay. B, do not kill. C, do not murder. D, all of the above. Oh, most of you. Okay, all of the above, all right? And how about E, B, and C? Don't kill and don't murder. Okay, all right. So, okay, so majority of you said all of the above. That's interesting. And, that makes sense. But the actual answer is, wait for it, do not murder. Only C. You say, why is this that? Well, some of you chose all of the above. And you say, well, what about wearing clothes? Don't most societies you have to wear clothes? Thankfully, yes. But believe it or not, you can Google this if you want. There are some societies in the world, I think in some remote parts of Africa, you can Google it, and these societies are cut off from the rest of the world, and some of them don't wear clothes. Okay. Now, that's specific societies. But most societies you have to wear clothes. Now, the other one that someone answered is don't kill and don't murder. Now, the reason why that's not true is because there's a distinction between killing and murder. Okay, killing is taking of a human life, right? But in some societies, we can take life for the purpose of punishment. And not in Canada, but in some countries you have capital punishment, right? Capital punishment. If someone commits a heinous crime, you can put that person to death in that country, right? Some of countries where people are put to death. Not in Canada, but in some countries, people are put to death for a terrible crime. All right. If someone was going to try to hurt my family and I have a gun and I can shoot that person, well, you bet you I'm going to shoot that guy to prevent them from hurting my family. That's self-defense, right? And self-defense is justified in a court of law, right? So in some so we can justify killing under certain circumstances, right? But murder, on the other hand, is taking of an innocent life. So in other words, you kill someone for no reason. The person has done no wrong. Innocent life, that is considered wrong in all societies. Okay, that make sense? Yeah. So think about that. Let's take another question here. All right, I want you to think about this one. Same-sex marriage. Okay, it's not a universal standard. Okay, it's legal in Canada. So 2 men, 2 women can get married here in Canada, legally get married. But in some countries, maybe some of you come from countries that same-sex marriage is not legal, right? But I want to ask your opinion. Do you think it should be legal? Even though it's not universal, do you think it should be a universal standard for every country? Okay, so I'll have you answer. How many of you say no? A. B, yes. All right, a lot of you said yes. Okay. C, maybe. All right, the rest of you. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Actually, I take yes and maybe as together, because basically you're allowing possibility, yes. And no one actually said no. That's interesting. Some of you might say no because of your religion, because certain religions prohibit it. That's understandable. But if you base it on ethics, think about the basic ethical principle of fairness and rights. Okay, fairness says that if straight people can get legally married, why should I discriminate against someone who is homosexual or same sex? Because the fact is, people that I know, and science often tells us that people who are same sex or homosexual, they're born that way. It's not a choice. And so if you're born that way, why should I discriminate and not give you the same right as people who are straight? Okay. So what I'm saying is, based on rights and based on fairness and equality, ethically, we have to say that same-sex marriage should be a universal standard. And in fact, in the world today, it's starting to become a universal standard. Not completely, but starting to. So here, yes, based on universal ethical principle of fairness, laws should be based on these ethical principles, and they need to be updated. So slowly, what we're saying is that laws slowly allowing gay marriage based on the principle of fairness, okay? Because ethics talks about fairness, right? Here in Canada, same-sex marriage became legal in 2005. Okay, you can't see it on the small print, but 2005. So about 20 years ago, same-sex marriage became legal. Do you have a question? Yeah. The colors? Yeah, the colors represent the countries where same-sex marriage is legal, and it represents the time periods in which they became legal. Okay, so like Canada is one of the early countries, like almost 20 years ago, it became legal. In some parts of the United States, it was legal, but it didn't become universally legal in the United States. In the United States, it's right here. Yeah, I got it here somewhere. Huh? Oh, yeah. I forgot where it was. You can actually see. Yeah, there it is. There it is. United States. Okay, United States, 2015. So in the United States, not until 2015 can. That's like relatively recent, right? Okay, and in other countries as well, slowly becoming legal because countries are starting to think, well, we shouldn't discriminate against people who are homosexual. They were born that way. Why should we discriminate against them based on fairness? Now, it's quite interesting. I told you I taught this course 28 years ago, one of the founding professors who taught ethics. And I asked this question 28 years ago. And 28 years ago, same-sex marriage was not legal in Canada because it just became legal about 20 years ago, right? And it's quite interesting. When I asked the same question, should it be legal, all right? the majority of students said no. Okay. And over the last 20 years, slowly I noticed that as I get a show of hands, at the beginning, 20 years ago or 18 years ago, mostly no. 10 years ago, about maybe 50-50, and slowly it became right now. For example, here we've got nobody said no, and most people said yes or maybe, which is yes, yeah. So what does it tell you? It shows you that people's attitudes have changed. And so it starts to show you that as laws change, people start thinking ethically and say, well, maybe we shouldn't discriminate. If I take out my religion, I know some religions do say no, but if you take out religion based on fairness, uh, same-sex marriage, we should not discriminate, right? Okay. So what we're saying is that ethics helps guide the law. Okay. So these are what we call universal standards, all right? And universal standards guide the laws of a country, and ultimately they guide, specific codes in companies and in organizations. The other approach we could look at is virtue ethics, which looks at not standards, but it looks at the person, character. And it's a simple procedure because sometimes, an action, someone does an action, but maybe there's not a specific standard or rule to apply. I'll give you an example. Some years ago in Canada, there was an election, and this guy here, Jerry Vance, was running for political office. So quite a few people were thinking about voting for this guy until a video surfaced of Jerry Vance in a previous job. So before he became a politician, he worked as a plumber, okay? And the video showed, here's actual clip from the picture from the image from the video. Okay, so here's Jerry Vance here. He's working as a plumber, fixing pipes in someone's kitchen, all right? And maybe the homeowner wasn't home, and he didn't know, but these days a lot of homes have camera monitoring, home monitoring, right? So as a plumber, he takes a coffee cup or mug from the sink, all right? And then he does something. He stoops behind the counter here, and he takes the cup, and he's stooping behind the counter. What do you think he's doing there? Yeah, number one, as in he's peeing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's taking the cup and he's peeing in the coffee cup. Okay. He didn't use the bathroom. He pees in the coffee cup. He said, why did he do that? I don't know why he did that. But anyway, he takes the coffee cup and he pees in the coffee cup. And then he pours the pee down the drain, and he leaves the mug in the sink without washing it. Okay. I'm thinking, whoa, let's say the homeowner comes home and doesn't see the video and takes the coffee mug and pours some juice into it and then drinks it. It's terrible. Yeah. So now we may not be able to apply a certain rule to this, okay? But we can apply character ethics to this. All right. So how do we apply character ethics? Well, basically you say, this action, how does it reflect on the person's character? Okay. A character as a person, So I'll ask you this question. Would you vote for this guy after seeing that video? Okay. How many say, no way, A, he's a disgusting man? No way? Okay. Anyone say B? Sure. Lots of people would have done the same thing. You still vote for him? You would? Really? Yeah. You give the guy a break? You'd still vote for him? Yeah, okay, good for you. Well, I mean, how about C? Maybe everyone's gonna go. Okay, so maybe give the guy a break. Okay, and maybe it wasn't convenient to use the bathroom. Okay, well, most of you said A, right? And in fact, voters basically, they chose A, right? Because most people said, no way, I'm not gonna vote for that guy after doing that. So that's virtue ethics. What he did, we may not apply a certain rule or standard, I mean, we didn't apply a certain rule or standard, but we applied virtue ethics and says, well, that action shows a lack of character. Okay, negative character. Okay, so basically it says that virtue ethics says a man of good character would not act this way. It shows selfishness, a lack of regard for other people's property. We're just disgusted by that action. Okay, that's virtue ethics. So it's simple to apply. What does this action say about a person's character? Okay. All right. So let's take a look at the next approach. And this is the consequentialism utilitarianism. We use this term to look at the end result. And sometimes we use the term, we get the term ends justifies the means, right? Okay. So we look at the end result and we say that if there's more good things than bad things, harms, then that's the right action, right? Now, you did the airplane case, right? And essentially, the airplane case, the president of the company justified the bribe to a foreign official based on this principle consequentialism, utilitarianism, right? So I'll review the case. An airplane manufacturer just built a new airplane. If the company doesn't get a large order for its plane soon, it's going to have to close down its operation in a small town. If they're forced to close down the plant, thousands of workers will be out of a job and the town's economy will collapse. So the president of the airplane company has been trying to interest the government of a foreign country in a large purchase. He learns that one of the key government ministers in charge of making the final decision is in debt because of gambling. So the president quietly, secretly offers the government official $1 million in cash in exchange for awarding his company the contract to build the planes. The money is paid and the company gets the contract. The president argues that his action was justified because the company gets the badly needed order and doesn't have to close down the plant. The workers are able to keep their jobs, the town is saved, the government official is able to pay his debts, and the foreign country gets the planes it needed. The good outweighs any harm caused by the bribe. Okay. So I asked you in the assignment, what's your opinion here? Did he do the right thing? Yes or no? Okay. So in this class, I had 7 people say yes, and I had 21 people say no. Okay. So that 7 people represents basically 25%. And 75% said no. Okay. Now, I have 3 ethics classes. And if I combine all 3 ethics classes, I had 84 submissions. So out of 84 people, I had 28 that said, yes, he did the right thing, which represents 33%. Okay. And I had 56 students said, no, he did the wrong thing, which represents 67%. Okay. So in this class, actually, it was a little higher, right? 75% said no, right? Okay. So those of you who said yes, basically you agree with the consequentialist utilitarian argument. So I said, it's a good answer based on the utilitarian consequentialist approach. Good outweighs the bad, right? If you answer no, I said, well, that's good based on ethical standards. Ethical standards is deontology, standards of right and wrong, because the idea of bribery goes against the rules, right? Okay. So if we take a look at all 3 together, virtue ethics, deontology, and consequentialism. So virtue ethics looks at the president, the person. Deontology looks at the action, whether it follows standards. And consequentialism looks at, well, the good results, save jobs, right? So, now, based on deontology, if we think about in the textbook, they talk about, by the way, you don't have to get the textbook, but in the textbook, they talk about 5 core universal principles. So the authors has summarized, we talk about what universal principles, universal standards. Basically, there's 5. help others, don't cause harm, allow people free choice, fairness, and act responsibly. All right. So now, if we just use deontology based on the standards, did the president do the right thing? Based on the standards, based on standards of right and wrong, fairness, you know, fairness. The answer would be, would you say what? No, right? No, right? Yeah. So I think that's an easy answer. Okay. So those of you who said no, you based it on deontology, right? What rule? What standard did he break? Um, Fairness, right? Yeah. And a lot of you said it wasn't. A lot of you said in your answers, it destroys fair business practice, right? Because once you bribe, there's no fairness, right? And I would agree with you. Okay, so I would agree with you. So out of the 5 core principles, fairness is the main one that you would basically have to apply. Okay, um, actually, you could apply all of the above. Actually, uh, so because the president should seek to help all stakeholders, the president should avoid causing harm to competitors. Autonomy. See, the bribe takes away free choice, right? Okay, because once you bribe, there's no more freedom of choice. There's no objective choice, and then also it destroys fair bidding process, as many of you mentioned, and also he's not acting in a responsible manner. Okay, no. So, based on deontology, was the president justified to pay the $1 million bribe? The answer is no, because based on the standards, like international standards, bribery is considered unethical. Okay, and also many companies have rules against offering bribes. All right. Now, some of you could say, well, maybe the president was practicing beneficence. He was trying to help the workers, right? Well, yeah, maybe he was. Doesn't really say, but even if he was, we don't break the rules to help others. Okay, that's not deontology, and mainly it violates fair business practice and leads to corruption of foreign officials. So that's why, based on deontology, the answer is no. Okay, and those of you who said no were somehow using a deontology type of argument based on rules and standards. Okay, now here's the next approach is character ethics, which looks at the character of a person. Okay, and a president would want to develop good character traits such as these, right? So if you had to base this on character ethics, so just looking at the character of the president, uh, was he doing the right thing? So if you just use character ethics alone, would you say yes? A, he was trying to help the workers keep their jobs, so maybe it reflects well on the character? Or would you say no? People who bribe are seen as untrustworthy, dishonest, and underhanded. So I'll take a vote on this one. Okay, based on character ethics. Okay, so I want you to imagine for a minute, uh, for example, the president of Boeing. Boeing is a major airplane manufacturer, right? Boeing Corporation. If you hear on the news that the president of Boeing Corporation offered a bribe to a foreign official in order to win the contract, would you think that it's good? It reflects well. Oh, the president has great character. He was trying to help the workers. Or would you think, no, no, he's bad. He's untrustworthy. He's being dishonest, underhanded. Okay. So think about it that way. How would you think about if you hear about the president of Boeing offering a bribe to win business? Okay. Would you think in a positive way? Yes. Or think in a negative way? No. Okay. So based on character ethics, how many of you say yes? Okay. So you would say, oh, the president was trying to help the workers. Okay. So maybe you give the president a break. Okay. And say, well, he had a good motive, right? Okay. How many would say no? Okay. All the rest of you. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I would agree with those of you who said no. And the reason is, even if he was trying to help the workers, the perception of most people is negative, right? Think about it, right? When you hear about somebody who bribes you have a negative perception, right? So So the answer is no, because people who bribe are seen as untrustworthy, dishonest, and underhanded. Will offering the bribe develop and display the president's moral character and reputation? Unlikely, because we often think that people who offer bribes are usually lacking in integrity. It does not display moral character. So that's why, based on virtue ethics, we really have to say no. Okay. And the other thing is this: he's got to keep it a secret. Okay, that's publicity tests. Because the president knows that if it's made public, well, it's going to hurt his reputation, going to hurt his character, right? Okay. Now, the final third approach is consequentialism. And that's the one that we use to justify the right action. So we think about all the stakeholders. These are all the employees, suppliers, foreign government. Out of all the stakeholders, many are benefited, but who's harmed? Out of all the stakeholders, which one is harmed there? Of all the stakeholders, which one's harmed? Competitors, yeah. Yeah. The competitors harmed, right? Okay. Now in the airplane business, there's not a whole lot of competitors. I mentioned Boeing is one airplane company, right? What's another one? Can you think? Anyone know what the other airplane companies are? You flew on an airplane? What kind of? Well, most of you who flew on an airplane probably flew on a Boeing airplane, right? Yeah. There's another company called Airbus. Okay. Some of you might have flown on an Airbus airplane. I've flown on both before, and then Canada actually has their own company called Bombardier. Okay, it's a Canadian company. I've flown on a Bombardier plane too. I got to tell you, I like Boeing planes. I like Airbus planes, but I don't like Bombardier planes. Okay, I just don't think they're as nice as the Boeing and Airbus planes. But Bombardier is a much smaller company, and it's a Canadian company, right? But so there's not too many competitors. So there's probably only one or two other competitors in this case here. So if we just look at the benefits versus the harms, only the competitors are harmed. Everyone else gets benefits. So basically, we could say, yeah, based on consequentialism, he might have done the right thing, right? Based on consequentialism, yes, more stakeholders benefit than are harmed. Okay, but only if kept a secret. All right, so that's the thing I would add here. Only if kept a secret. Okay. Do you think it's easy to keep a secret in terms of offering a bribe to a foreign official? You think that news would ever come back out? You know that President of Boeing offered a bribe to win business. Do you think that would ever come out? You know, do you think it's easy to keep a secret like that? No, it's not. Yeah. So that's why I'm saying maybe he shouldn't do it, even based on consequentialism. Okay. All right. So what we're saying, based on consequentialism, yes, but only if kept a secret. Now, so we can see in these three approaches, oftentimes the deontology, following the rules, conflicts with consequentialism, having a good end result. Okay. Now, a question I want to ask you is this: is it ever justified to break the rules to achieve a good result? So here, I'm going to take a show of hands here. Is it ever, think about situations in life. Is it ever justified, let's say, to break the law, to break, again, bribery, that's breaking the rules, breaking some rules, breaking standards in order to get a good result, like saving the jobs of the workers, right? I say here for the airplane company, no, it wasn't justified. I think that the president should have done it in a fair and square manner. He could have won the bid by offering a competitive, well developed bid, and he could have won the bid fair and square. That's what I would say. So I don't think he was justified to bribe in order to win the business, and also there's a high probability that the bribe would become public at some time in the future. And if it becomes public, that would cause a lot of harm to everybody, right? To all stakeholders. So I would say in this case, he wasn't justified to break the rules. But can you think of another situation perhaps where it could be justified? So I want to take a vote here. Is it ever justified to break the rules in order to get a good result? How many of you say A, never, never, never justified? Okay, nobody. B, to help others in a significant way, like what the president of the airplane company did. B, yes. Well, if you answered yes to the case, you would pick B, okay, because he was breaking the rules in order to save jobs, right? Uh, what about this one here? C, to save a life. Okay, all of you. Okay, seems like most of you. Okay, how about B and C? Okay, the rest of you. Okay, all right, yeah. So I would agree with D. So to save life for sure. Uh, for example, in World War II, uh, Hitler, the crazy man who almost conquered the world, he conquered all of Europe, and he was on a mission to exterminate all the Jewish people. And if you know something about history, he basically rounded up all the Jewish people, and he sent them to basically the gas chamber, and he's responsible for killing millions and millions of Jewish people. I mean, that's crazy, right? I mean, it's what we call genocide. He was trying to exterminate an entire race of people. All right, evil man, evil. Now, some people in Europe, they wanted to help the Jewish people by hiding them in their homes. And so when German soldiers came to these people's door, are you hiding any Jewish people? Are there any Jewish people in your house? Are you going to tell the truth? Oh, yes, he's down in the basement. Are you going to say that? No, right? You're going to lie, right? And say, no, no Jewish people here, right? And hopefully the soldiers don't find them, right? So some people lied, and they've lied and they broke the law because the law was to turn over Jewish people. They lied and broke the law in order to save lives, to save the lives of Jewish people. Was that justified? Of course it was justified because you're saving innocent life, right? Um, how about helping others in a significant way? Is there a way that we could do that? For example, suppose my sister was married to an abusive husband, and let's say I help my sister to hide away from her abusive husband, and her abusive husband comes to me and says, "Where's your sister? Do you know where she is?" Well, am I going to tell him? No, I'm not going to tell him. I'm going to say, I don't know where she is, right? I will lie in order to protect her from her abusive husband, right? So sometimes to help others in a significant way and to save life, it's justified to lie and to break the rules and even to break the law. Sometimes, right? Not often, but sometimes, right? Agreed? Okay. All right. All right. So we got the three things. There's also three tests we can apply. So there's three traditions from ethics: consequentialism, deontology, and virtue ethics. And we can also apply these three tests. We've already applied the publicity test to this case. Here's an example of sometimes you might be tempted to lie on your resume, for example. Like, let's say you attend Seneca College, and let's say you never get your diploma, right? But let's say you apply to a job, and on your resume, you decide, well, I'll just put diploma from Seneca College. I went to Seneca, I just didn't graduate. I didn't get the piece of paper, the diploma. Okay. And you put it there anyway. A lot of people do that, by the way. And this guy, he did it. This guy, he was a CEO of a company called Radio Shack some years ago, a huge public company, which is like Best Buy. They sell electronics. And he put on his resume that he got a degree from a college in California. Okay. And he became CEO of the company, uh, Radio Shack. And then, like 30 years later, okay, in 2006, a reporter discovered that he lied on his resume. The reporter discovered that he actually didn't get that degree. He got a bachelor's degree from a college in California, and that's how he got a job, right? Because he said he had a bachelor's degree. But the reporter discovered he actually never got the bachelor's degree. He just put it on the resume. Okay. Now, what would you think? Would you think, well, okay, he was 30 years ago. He was young and stupid back then. We can still let him be CEO. What would some of you say that? Yeah, well, yeah, well, I mean, sure, give the guy a break, right? A lot of us would say that, right? Yeah. But you know what? They forced him to step down. See, David Edmondson, CEO, president and CEO of Radio Shack, resigned following questions about his resume. Okay. So I just want to point that out is because the secret came out 30 years later after he rose to become CEO, and it made him quit in disgrace. He had to step down in disgrace because of that one mistake that he made, right? So all I'm saying is publicity test says be careful because sometimes things become public, right? Warren Buffett says it this way. Warren Buffett says that if an unfriendly reporter were to write up in tomorrow's paper, so if if it came out on the news or on the internet that you did this, would it be acceptable? Would it be okay? If it's not okay, then it probably isn't the right thing to do. Okay. So that's publicity test. All right. And we know if the president is discovered to have bribed, right, it would ruin his reputation. It would damage his reputation because public opinion condemns bribery, right? Okay. All right. What about this next test here? Reversibility test, which is simple, which simply says put yourself in the other person's shoes. So in this case, we put ourselves in the competitor's shoes. How would they feel about it, right? I taught this to my son when he was a young teenager. I took him to this bicycle repair shop to fix his bike, all right? And the man fixed the bicycle. And afterwards, the man had his son collect the money. And his son was about the same age as my son. My son's name is Wesley. And his son was about 14 years old. Wesley was about 14 years old at the time. And the boy, his son, collected the money. I immediately noticed he gave me too much change. So about $20 or so a significant amount. I said, oh, here, you gave me too much change. I gave him back the money, gave him back the $20. I said, take it back. Okay. I walk out of the bicycle shop with my son, Wesley. And Wesley says to me, the minute I walk out the door, he says, Dad, why did you say anything? You could have just kept the money. And I think, oh my goodness. Oh, my son is so bad. He's so bad. I was so disappointed. Oh, I have a bad son. He told me to keep the money, not say anything. And I said, oh. And so I decided right then I better teach him something about ethics. I got to teach him to be a good, decent human being. I said, Wesley, that boy in there, he's about your age, about 14 years old. If you were him and you gave a customer too much money, would you want the customer to give it back? Wesley thought, yeah, I guess so. I said, well, then you should do the same thing. You should give the money back. All right. I think he learned a lesson because today he's pretty ethical, I think, In his first job at Wonderland, I told you, he got a job at Wonderland, a customer left their wallet, and then the supervisor had the wallet delivered to customer service so they could contact the customer. So the supervisor took the wallet, and guess what? The supervisor gave it to my son, Wesley. Wesley, take this wallet to customer service. And I said, see, that means the supervisor trusts you to take the wallet to customer service. She trusts you that you won't take money out of the wallet before delivering it to customer service. So I think I taught him some ethics. I think it worked. Okay. So teach your kids, if you become a parent or you're a parent now, teach your kids some ethics. Okay. Because you want to teach them to be decent human beings. Now, if the president put himself in the position of the competitors, he will not agree with the bribe because competitors submit bids believing they are participating in a fair process, right? Offering a bribe is considered cheating. And finally, this last test here, generalizability. And this comes from Kant. And basically it says this. If we talk about universal principles, universal laws. So ask yourself, if my action became a universal law or universal principle, is it acceptable? So let's suppose you decide, let's say you have a coffee cup and you're outside and you think, okay, should I throw this coffee cup on the sidewalk? What do you say? Should I throw my coffee cup on the sidewalk? Litter. Should you litter? I know some of you do litter. But is it a good idea to throw garbage on the sidewalk? You got to ask yourself. Generalizability principle says, if this is a universal rule that applies to everybody, would it be acceptable? Would it be acceptable if everybody threw their coffee cup on the sidewalk? I don't think so. I don't think so, right? So that's what generalizability test says. So let's apply this to the president. Would it be acceptable if all company presidents offered bribes to foreign officials in order to win business? Would that be acceptable? What do you think? Why not? Why not? Why wouldn't it be acceptable if all company presidents offered bribes to get business? Yes.
Then they are bidding for bribes.
Then they're what?
Bidding for
bribes. Yeah, basically. Yeah. Yeah. Would you have to build a good? Oh, yeah. By offering bribes, right? Yeah. But if it was commonplace, if airplane companies win bids based on bribery, I would be afraid to fly an airplane. I really would. Why? Because I would be thinking to myself, this airplane may not be safe because the president of the company probably offered a bribe in order to get the business, and he didn't have to build a good airplane. He could have just sold a piece of junk as an airplane, but he could get the business because he offered a bribe, right? Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So it wouldn't be a good thing. So that's what you're going to ask yourself in this test. You basically say, would it be acceptable if everyone did this? And the president needs to ask himself, would it be acceptable if all company presidents offered bribes to win business? And the answer is no, because this would destroy fair bidding process. Companies would win bids based on how much they could offer as a bribe, not based on merit. Customers would ultimately receive inferior products because companies would have no incentive to build top quality products in order to win a bid. Okay, I think a couple of you mentioned that. You said airplanes would become unsafe. That's true, right? Yeah. So these are the three things that we can apply to ethics. The three traditions: consequentialism, deontology, virtue ethics, and the three tests: publicity, reversibility, generalizability. Okay? All right. Let's do a case for today. It's a simple case. It's very short. All right? It's called BG Conference. All right. So there's this conference center in Vancouver, Canada. There it is. All right. In Vancouver, Canada. All right. And all right, you're going to be Mark. Okay. I'm going to have you break into groups to discuss a question here. So you're going to be Mark. Okay. And you're manager of the BG Conference Center in Vancouver, Canada. Okay. Now, tomorrow, you're going to be meeting with a fellow by the name of Douglas Mack, General Douglas Mack. And he comes from a small country called Goshen. All right. General Mack is head of the Goshen Light Conference, GLC, expected to draw 50,000 attendees from around the world. All right. The GLC annual convention is very large by Vancouver standards. Because the economy has been so slow, BG badly needs the convention. The GLC has narrowed its consideration to two cities, Vancouver and Los Angeles. So you're competing with Los Angeles. You're Vancouver, okay? You're Vancouver, and you're competing with Los Angeles. And you badly need this business because the economy is slow. And this is a big convention. It's going to bring in lots of revenue to your convention center, okay? Now, the guy that you're dealing with is Douglas Mack, okay? And from previous meetings, you met with him before, you know that he's very egotistic. He's self-centered, opinionated individual. He's pretty much a jerk, okay? But he's the guy who's going to determine which city gets the convention. So he's the guy who's going to decide whether to go to Los Angeles or come to Vancouver, where you are. Mack's opinions come from his culture of Goshen, which has backward or sexist views of women. It's basically like 60 years ago in this country, right? Sexist views is years ago, and in some countries today, women are not equal with men. Women are considered dumber than men, not as capable as men. Okay. So basically, he's got those old fashioned views of women. Okay. Now, you're Mark, and you personally deplore, you strongly disagree with Mac's views and the Goshen culture. But you have some important decisions to make about the meeting with Douglas Mack tomorrow. So if you were Mark, what would you do? Okay. So you're going to meet with this guy. He's very opinionated. He's sexist. He has backward views of women. It's part of his culture, right? As I say, it's kind of like some countries that you may come from still discriminate against women. Women are not equal with men. And again, like 60 years ago in North America, uh, a lot of CEOs thought women were not fit to be CEOs, right? Even today, there's not as many. There's more men, but 60 years ago, there were hardly any women CEOs because men thought, oh, women are not fit to be CEOs. But of course, we know they are. Some of the best CEOs are women, right? But 60 years ago, people didn't believe that. Okay, so back in the years ago, like in Goshen, today they say, well, women are not equal with men. Now, here's the problem. You have a choice to make. You got to bring along a salesperson to the meeting. Okay. You're Mark, and you're going to bring a salesperson. Okay. You need a salesperson support. So, should you bring along Cindy Jones, who happens to be a woman, an attractive woman, okay, or the mid range performer, the amicable, easygoing Bill Smith. Okay. Now, Cindy is your top salesperson, remember? She's your top salesperson. Bill, however, he's easygoing, but he's only mid-range. Okay. Now, Cindy is much sharper with figures, numbers, and analysis. Oh, in other words, she's smarter than Bill. Okay. Okay. So she's smarter than Bill. But Cindy might put Mac off. She might offend him because he's very uncomfortable with bright, smart women. See, sexist men, they're very, when they meet a smart woman, they get very uncomfortable because it just makes them think, oh, they don't think women should be smart. Okay. And so he might be uncomfortable with Cindy because she's very smart. And moreover, Cindy could respond negatively to Mac's sexist views and jokes, while Bill will just laugh at them. Okay. So I want you to discuss for a moment around your table, who would you take, Cindy or Bill? Okay. So and then we'll go around the room and get your your results. Tell me how many choose Cindy, how many choose Bill, and why. Okay. So just discuss it now for a few minutes. All right.
Even though it's like really unfair.
Safe choice, right?
Yeah, even
Yeah.
though Cindy would get her, and you wouldn't want to be in her position also because it's really
Okay.
unfair.
Okay.
But it's like at the end of the day, it's like it sacrifice one person to generate more profit.
Okay.
It's like pretty
Okay.
like,
Okay. So you sacrifice Cindy for now, and because we want to get the business, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Makes sense. It's a practical decision, in other words, right? Practical decision to get the best result. Okay. Uh, our next table there. What do you guys say? Okay. So you chose Bill, and so the woman chooses Bill, and the man chooses Cindy. Huh? Interesting. Okay. And let me ask the gentleman there. Why would you choose Cindy over Bill?
Well, Cindy is much more knowledgeable than Bill.
Okay.
Well, I was debating between Bill and Cindy. Hard to choose
Yeah.
between them.
Yeah.
If I could persuade Douglas somehow, then maybe perspectives might change.
Okay.
It's both me and Cindy. And Cindy is a better.
So you would choose Cindy, and you would try to persuade Douglas that, okay, well, we should have the business, and Cindy's a good choice, kind of thing, even though he may be uncomfortable with a smart woman.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. And I guess you chose Bill for the practical reason of getting the business.
Yeah, as a woman, I would choose Cindy,
Uh-huh.
probably, but as
Yeah.
a good businessman.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know as a woman you want to choose the woman, right? But yeah, I know. Okay. What about our table back here? What do you say? You okay? How many of you? Two of you chose Cindy. Okay. Why? Because both of you are women. So two women choose Cindy, and back there you chose. You said you chose Bill. Three of you chose Bill. Three Bills. Okay. Okay. So three women choose Bill. Three and two women chose Cindy, right? And you chose Cindy. The women who chose Cindy because you want to support your fellow woman. Character, yeah. Okay. Yeah, she's more qualified, basically. Is what you're saying. She's smarter and all that. Okay. And back there, you're basically doing it for a practical business reason to get the business. Okay. Okay. Makes sense. All right. What about back there? What do you say?
Three bills.
Three bills. Okay. Three bills. Okay. And again, for the practical reason of
Yeah, right tool for the right job, right?
okay, right tool for the right job. Okay, makes sense. Yeah, sometimes we have to adapt, right? Sometimes we have to adapt. Okay. Next table here.
Two
Cindy.
bills and two Cindy's.
Two Bills and two Cindy. So it's like two women chose Cindy and the two men chose Bill. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So two women and two men. Okay. Because you choose Cindy because you're women, you choose Bill because you're men. Right?
Even if we have Cindy, if they are not adaptable with each other, then they will. Even if he's sharper, then his knowledge is not much to the business.
Okay.
So Bill is the right choice.
All right. Yeah. And the ladies, you chose Cindy because what? Because you're women. She's smarter. Okay.
Because for this, the CEO have to behave as well, like laugh at them.
Yeah, you have to behave as a people. Yeah.
That's the main thing, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have to be respectful.
You have to be respectful of the women. Yeah. Yeah. Certainly in this country, but you have to keep in mind, Douglas is from another country, and so he may. The problem is he may make jokes about sexist jokes about women, because he's from another country, some small country, right? So he's a very crude man. Yeah.
Sorry, not to sound ignorant, but is Goshen a real country?
No.
Okay.
It's kind of fictitious, but it represents some cultures where women still in this world today. There are some cultures where women are looked down upon. Yeah. Some of you any of you come from countries, or your parents come from countries where you feel that women are still looked down upon, not equal with men. Yeah. What country is that? Iran. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I hear that a lot from people from Iran. So women are not considered equal with men, and that's why I think a lot of women want to come here, right, to Canada, where you consider more equal. Yeah. Yeah. They don't have rights. Yeah. 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 Men. Are men. Yeah. 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 Slowly changing. Yeah. Yeah. Well, in this country, as I say, 60 years ago, 70, 80 years ago, women were discriminated against too. I mean, so basically, countries like Iran are basically, maybe 60, 70 years behind us. And next week, I mentioned even voting. Women for many years did not have the right to vote in America. Okay, only relatively recent did they get the right to vote. Okay, so really, women were discriminated against all throughout history, really. So only now it's changing. Yeah. So what do you guys here say? Two Cindy's, one Bill. Any comments to add there?
I chose Bill first.
Okay. Oh, the woman chooses Bill. Yeah.
Yeah, but I changed my mind.
Oh, you changed your mind after listening to the discussion.
I
Yeah.
chose her because it's not because of like I'm a woman.
Uh-huh.
I chose her because she's smart.
She's smart.
And then if Douglas doesn't give this business to
Yeah,
Mac,
yeah.
he will be the one who is Like,
That's his problem.
yeah,
yeah.
that's his problem, not
Yeah.
Max's problem.
Okay. All right. That's a good point. All right. How about here?
Two Cindy's and one bill.
Two Cindy's and one Bill. Okay. Okay. And who chose Bill? Okay. For practical reasons?
Yeah, we're here for business, not for changing anyone's behavior. Or
Yeah.
opinions.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. You're not trying to change Douglas's behavior. I mean, you're basically accommodating to him because you want the business, right? Okay.
Everyone has different behaviors, but the one who can deal with is the one who can strive in the business. So that's why I choose Seneca.
Because the one you're dealing with is the one who is discriminatory.
No, like if a person can deal with any person, he can strive the business. If you are like at the workplace, a person can't deal with another person with his behavior. I think it will not be possible to do the business because everyone has different mindset,
Okay.
and we are the persons who have to take the opportunities.
So you want to choose the person who can deal with
deal with all the situations.
the situation. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes that is a good point that we have to choose people based on the right fit. Yeah, that's a good point. What about two of you here, say? Two Bills. Okay. Two Bills. Okay. And because you want business, right?
Because they just hear from business right now.
Yeah.
So we're not gonna change them.
Yeah.
I will each their opinions.
Yeah, that's true. You're not going to change him. There's no question about it. Yeah. So we basically, Bill wins by a wide margin here, and actually, in most of my classes that I've done this, like yesterday's class, Bill also won. Okay, I have another class after this one, so we'll see what happens. But it often is the case. And if I were to give it to you as a multiple choice, it would look like this. Those who choose Cindy would say, well, she's your top salesperson. And those who chose Bill is that, well, he won't offend Mac, and you really want this business. You need the conference business. Some people say it this way. Some people say, well, I don't want Cindy to be subjected to Mac's sexist comments and jokes. Some people said that. Okay. But in actual fact, I mean, of course, in ethics, we want to say, if we use consequentialism alone, right, we want the best result, right? So based on the result, if we want the best result, let me just put if you want the best result, basically Bill is the right choice. So those who choose Bill, basically you're using consequentialism, right? Because you're not going to offend Mac, and if you take Cindy, you risk offending him, right? So if we just look at consequentialism, the end result, we want to say, okay, we'll take Bill, okay. But again, what about deontology, where we can apply rules and standards, right? Now, let's assume there's no corporate rules, because some corporations have rules about equality. But let's take a look at 5 universal principles, okay? Now, Mac is from a different country, which has different values. So I guess the question I want to ask you here, some of you say, well, maybe we should just accommodate to Douglas Mac's values and take Bill. So some of you said that, right? So would you agree then with the statement? How many of you would agree with this statement? Of course we should accommodate to his values. Of course we should accommodate to Mac's values because, there's a saying, right? When in Rome, do as the Romans do, okay? So Douglas Mac is from Rome, okay? And he's the one who could determine the business. So we're meeting him, based on Roman culture, right? Well, there's no real absolute, so maybe we should just accommodate to him, right? So how many of you think, well, that's the philosophy you agree with? When in Rome, do as the Romans do. Yeah? Okay. All right. So some of you do. Okay. So that's true. Okay. But how many of you would say, no. 5 core principles like do not harm others, be fair. These are core principles which we should apply everywhere in every country. Okay. So a few more. All right. Okay. What I would say is this, and you all have good reasons for choosing either A or B. I would say for A, you can do it for small things. Okay? Things like, for example, Walmart is international, right? And they're successful in most countries in the world. But one country they failed was Germany. Anyone from Germany here? Okay, but in Germany, Walmart was not able to adapt to their culture. You say, well, why is that? Well, for one example was Germans, they love their beer. They like drinking beer. Okay. And so during break time, instead of having a coffee, many Germans would have a beer. Okay. Beer break. No coffee break. Beer break. Okay. But Walmart said, no, 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 no way, no way. Because Walmart is from the southern United States. In the southern United States, their values are often no alcohol. Some people, they don't drink alcohol at all, and especially not on the job. So they say no beer drinks, only coffee, right? And there were some other cultural things as well that Walmart was not able to adapt to, right? They stuck to their Southern American values, and eventually they had to pull out of Germany, okay? But, when I think about it, well, yeah, I consider a beer break maybe possibly, I mean, you can adapt to it, right? Maybe you could say, okay, have a beer, two at most, but no more than two, right? Okay, that might be. So small things, like a beer break, you can, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, right? Okay. But big things, for example, workplace safety. In some countries, workers work under harsh conditions, unsafe conditions. Well, should we just adapt to that? No, of course not, because we're dealing with people's safety, right? We're dealing with do no harm, do no harm. We don't want to harm our workers. So the question here is, when we talk about Cindy or Bill, we're talking about an issue of fairness, men and women. And that could be a universal value. Okay. So based on fairness, again, fairness is a big thing here. We'd have to say we should take Cindy, right? So the 5 core principles are universal values, okay? And the one that would guide us the most in this case would be fairness, okay? Because we need to treat Cindy fairly as equal with men. So be fair. Based on fairness, we choose Cindy, because fairness depends that the person who is most deserving of this job is the one who performs best based on merit, because top salespeople should get the top job, right? Cindy deserves the top jobs because this is a large event, so she deserves it based on merit, okay? Bill is only a mid-range performer, okay? So, so basically the top job should go to Cindy, right? And the only reason we're considering Bill is because he's a man, right? If Cindy were a man, well, we wouldn't even be thinking about Bill, right? Okay. But the thing is, I would say this: allow her to choose freely. That's autonomy, okay? We pick Cindy for the job. However, talk to her first, okay? And we give her the freedom to choose, okay? So you let her choose. You say, well, listen, Cindy, you can tell her about Mac. You say, he's a real sexist, okay? He looks down on women. He's going to make jokes about women, okay? Can you handle him? Can you handle a sexist like Mac? All right. He's uncomfortable with smart women, and you're a smart woman. He may joke about smart women. He may joke about you, Cindy. Can you handle it? Are you going to be able to handle it? And she may say, hey, no way, man. I'm going to punch him in the face. Better take a man. She may say that, right? In which case, you take Bill, right? But the point I'm trying to make is we have to offer it to Cindy first, okay? And if she says, listen, I can handle it. I can handle it. So we ask her, are you confident you can win the business, or should we pick someone else? Because she wants the best for the company. And if she says, I can handle it, I'll get you the business, then we take her. All right, we can take her, right? If she agrees, we trust her competence. And we respect her right to fair treatment and dignity. Okay. So yeah, so I would say Cindy is the right choice, but we talk to her first and let her make that choice. Okay. And again, she may say, no, go ahead and take a man, right? Now, based on character ethics, Cindy's the choice. All right. Now let's about virtue ethics. Choosing her for virtue ethics, character traits, we choose her because this does it show that you're a good manager if you choose Cindy first and talk to her? Do you think? I mean, if you're Cindy and your manager comes to you and talks to you about this, do you think this? Would you think positively of your manager? Yeah, sure you would. So what I'm saying is, based on virtue ethics, choosing Cindy will help show that you are a manager of good character. Choosing Cindy and explaining the situation to her shows that you are fair and trustworthy and you do not discriminate against women. And by talking to Cindy in advance, you demonstrate you care about her well being and you trust her judgment. Okay. So keep in mind, if you take Bill, Cindy's going to be upset when she finds out, and her opinion of you as a manager is going to go down, and she may start looking for another job. So, what we're saying is based on character ethics, again, Cindy's the right choice because she will think more positively of you as a manager, right? If you choose Bill, she's not going to like you as a manager, right? Okay. So, now, so let's say we take Cindy. And let's say Max starts mouthing off. He starts making fun of women. He starts making crude jokes. Shall we tell Cindy, "Hey, Cindy, take it easy. Take it easy. Don't offend Mac. Don't offend Douglas Mac. Cool it, cool it." Should we tell her to cool it? Yes, or just would you say just let her deal with it on her own? No. What would you say to that? Anybody say yes? Tell her to cool it. How about no? Oh, you tell her to cool it. Okay, yeah. Because we don't want her to offend Mac. Okay. Makes sense. Yeah. Uh, anybody would just say, oh, let's let her deal with it on her own. Okay. So most of you seems okay. All right. So I would agree with those of you who say no. Because no one needs to say cool it because you've already explained the situation to her. You have to trust her to know how to deal with Mac. She's your top salesperson, right? She knows how to deal with all kinds of clients, and she won't take Mac's sexist comments personally, right? Though she realized they're just a result of his background. Okay, here's one more question. Got to ask you this. Should Mark tell Cindy to wear a sexy outfit rather than her normal business attire? Because that will help influence Mac, you know. See, sexist men, they're uncomfortable with smart women, but they like sexy women. Because, you know, sexist men, they think women, you know, they like, you know, attractive, sexy women. So maybe we should just use that to get the business. So that's another way we could use Cindy, right? She's an attractive woman, so let's have her wear something sexy, and that will influence Mac and get the business. Okay. So what do you think? Anyone say yes? You really? You would agree, huh? And why would that? And you're a woman. And why would you agree to that? Just to get the business? Yeah, you wouldn't. Okay, adapt to get the business. Okay. Anybody else? So one of our women friends says, "Yeah, let's do it." Well, let me tell you this. Has anyone ever watched that show on TV called Shark Tank? Anyone ever see it? Yeah, Shark Tank. Yeah, so Shark Tank is you've got a panel of investors, right? Multimillionaires, and they're investing in certain businesses, right? Now, one of the sharks, one of the women there, uh, she said this, and she was criticized for saying it, but she said when she was young, she said, I would intentionally wear a short skirt to business meetings because it would get me more attention and I would get more business. Okay. So she would intentionally dress sexy in order to get more business. And it worked for her. She's a multimillionaire. Okay. All right. Now, you think, would that justify you? Yes.
I think it's on her own because she wanted that. Whereas here, I'm telling mine.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah. So if a woman wants to do it for herself, for her own business, and some women do, by the way, right? You know, they use their attractiveness, they use their sex appeal in order to win business. Well, that's up to them. They can use what they have, right? And so that's what that shark did. That's what she did, and she became a multimillionaire and a successful business, right? But as a manager, can you ask your employee to do that? Of course, the answer is no. Okay. Because as a manager, this would violate her right to dignity to be treated with respect. You can't treat your employees as objects to be mistreated in order to win business. Again, human beings and employees have rights, and the rights is to be treated with respect and dignity and given freedom of choice. Okay, so good point. All right, so that's it for today. I'm gonna. A lot of you came in late, so I got to call your attendance. So if